For the sentinels at the tomb of the unknown soldier, the rules are absolute. 21 steps south, a 21-second pause, turn, another 21-second pause, then 21 steps north, unwavering, unflinching. Their oath is a vow of stoic perfection, kept continuously 24 hours a day since 1937. They are a living monument, their every move a testament to a nation's promise to never forget. They don't stop for blizzards, for hurricanes, or for the passing of time. They are not supposed to stop, not for anything. So what happens when a message, not from a general or a president, but from a grieving mother, seems to demand that this sacred oath be broken? What happens when a silent sentinel is faced with a choice between the perfection of his duty and the compassion of his humanity? This is the story of that choice and of the young guard who risked everything for a single heartbreaking letter. To understand the weight of that choice, you have to understand the ground on which it was made. Arlington National Cemetery isn't just a burial ground. It's a living map of American history. But at its very heart, on a hill overlooking Washington, D.C., lies its most sacred space, the tomb of the unknown soldier. The idea was born from the immense shared grief that followed World War I. Nations like France and Great Britain had honored one of their unidentified fallen, creating a single symbolic grave where every family of a missing soldier could mourn. America, moved by this powerful gesture, decided to do the same. In 1921, a congressman and WWI veteran named Hamilton Fish Jr. proposed a bill to bring home an unknown American warrior who in himself represents no section, creed, or race, and who typifies, moreover, the soul of America and the supreme sacrifice of her heroic dead. 4 unknown American soldiers were exhumed from cemeteries in France. Inside a solemn chapel, a highly decorated Sergeant Edward F. Younger was given a spray of white roses and the heavy task of making the choice. He circled the identical caskets 3 times. He later said, "It was as though something had pulled me." He placed the roses on the 3rd casket from the left. That soldier, known only to God, began his journey home to represent all who were lost. Today, the tomb holds the remains of unknowns from World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. For a time, a Vietnam unknown rested there too, until DNA testing identified him as Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Joseph Blassie. He was returned to his family, and his crypt now remains empty, a testament to all missing service members from that conflict. The monument itself is carved with figures representing peace, victory, and valor, and bears the inscription that defines its purpose: "Here rests, in honored glory, an American soldier known but to God." Guarding this sacred place is a duty not given but earned through a trial by fire. The Sentinels are all volunteers from the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, the Army's official ceremonial unit. This is their most revered duty. The standards are famously strict. A soldier must have a flawless military record. For the sake of a uniform appearance, they are organized by height, and they must commit to at least 9 months of service to earn the Tomb Guard identification badge, though most serve for much longer. Their lives are governed by an unyielding code. During their intensive training period, nearly all their off-duty time is spent studying, preparing their uniforms to flawless perfection, and shining their shoes until they gleam like black mirrors. They wear no rank on their uniforms so as not to outrank the unknowns they protect. It is a life of monastic devotion. And then there's the walk. The ritual is an unchanging ballet of remembrance. The guard marches 21 steps down a 63-foot black mat. He turns and faces the tomb for 21 seconds. He turns again, faces north for another 21 seconds, then takes 21 steps back. Every detail is symbolic. The number 21 echoes the 21-gun salute, the nation's highest military honor. Their movements are so precise, they become part of the monument itself, silent, stoic, and perfect. This was the world of Specialist Sam Callahan. At 23, he had the quiet intensity of someone who'd found his purpose. The silence of the tomb wasn't empty to him. It was filled with history and honor. He'd traded the life of a typical young man for the crisp click of his heels on the stone, the reverent hush of the crowd, and the privilege of standing watch. His oath was to the unknowns, to the abstract symbol of their sacrifice. He never imagined that one day that oath would be challenged by a story so personal, it would shake the very foundations of his duty. It was a crisp Tuesday in late October. The sky over Arlington was a brilliant, cloudless blue. For Sam, it was just another day. The rhythm was the same as always: march, turn, pause, repeat. The faces in the crowd were a familiar blur. His focus, as always, was absolute. He completed his 21 steps and executed a flawless turn. As he stood in his 21-second pause, his eyes scanned the perimeter. And that's when he saw it. Tucked into a hairline crevice in the marble base of the plaza was the corner of a small beige envelope. It was weathered, the paper soft and slightly frayed. Protocol was immediate and clear. Nothing should ever be on or near the tomb. He was to complete his walk, and the relief commander would be notified at the next changing of the guard. The object would be removed and catalogued. His duty was to observe and ignore, to remain perfect. But he couldn't. For the next half hour, the presence of that envelope burned in his mind. With every step, every turn, his eyes were drawn back to that tiny imperfection. Who would leave it there? Why a tourist's forgotten letter? Trash or something more? The human curiosity he had suppressed for so long began to stir. The relief commander arrived and the breathtaking ceremony of the changing of the guard began. As the outgoing guard, Sam's part was nearly done. He marched with his relief toward the guard quarters beneath the memorial amphitheater. As they passed the spot shielded for a brief moment from the crowd, Sam made a choice. In a single fluid motion that was both impossibly fast and shockingly deliberate, he bent slightly, his gloved hand darting out. His fingers closed around the thin paper, and in less than a second, the envelope was in his hand, concealed against his palm. He straightened up without breaking stride, his face an unreadable mask. No one saw him, but Sam felt it like a brand on his skin. He had broken protocol. To a tomb guard, there is no such thing as a small transgression. He had let a human impulse override his sacred duty. And as he walked away, the fragile weight of the letter in his hand felt heavier than the rifle on his shoulder. If these stories of service and sacrifice move you, consider subscribing. It helps us continue to share powerful accounts of honor and humanity. The guard quarters beneath the amphitheater are a sanctuary of quiet focus. Here in the Spartan solitude of his space, Sam finally looked at what he had done. He sat on his cot, his heart pounding. With fingers that felt clumsy without their white gloves, he carefully opened the weathered envelope. There was no address, no name on the outside. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was elegant but shaky, the blue ink slightly faded. He began to read. "To my dearest son, my unknown boy, they tell me you might be here. For 50 years I have wondered where you rest. My heart, a mother's heart, has always held on to the hope that you are here under the watchful eyes of these good young men, that you are home. Your name was Daniel. You had your father's eyes and a smile that could charm the birds from the trees. You loved the smell of rain on hot asphalt and the taste of my apple pie. You promised you would be careful." When the men in uniform came to the door, the world went silent. "Missing," they said. A word that is not an end, but the beginning of a different kind of pain. A lifetime of waiting for a footstep that never comes. Your father passed on 10 years ago. He never stopped looking for your face in crowds. Now it is just me. I am old now, my love. My hands tremble when I write, and my memory is not what it was. I fear this will be my last visit. I don't know if you are the soldier beneath this beautiful stone, but today I will believe you are. I will tell you that you were loved fiercely and completely, that not a day has passed where you were not missed. If this letter should find its way into a kind hand, know that it is not a plea for answers, but a testament to a love that does not end with a life. It is all I have left to give. Your loving mother, Elara." Sam read the letter once, then twice. The disciplined world of 21 steps and 21-second pauses simply fell away. The unknown soldier was no longer an abstract concept. He had a name, Daniel. He had his father's eyes and a mother who baked him apple pie. He was real. The stoic sentinel, the man trained to show no emotion, felt a profound crack in his armor. He saw not just a letter, but a lifetime of grief poured onto a single page. His oath was to the unknowns. But what did that oath truly mean? Did it mean guarding a block of marble? Or did it mean guarding the human memories it represented? For the next 2 days, Sam was a man divided. On the plaza, he was the perfect sentinel. His steps were precise, his gaze unwavering. But inside, a storm was raging. Ilara's letter was a constant presence. He tucked it safely inside his service cap, and he could feel the phantom weight of her words with every step. What was he supposed to do? His training was clear reported. Give the letter to his commanding officer. It would be handled with respect, placed in an archive, a historical artifact from an anonymous visitor. Ilara's final message would dissolve into the silence of bureaucracy. The thought was unbearable. But the alternative, to actively seek her out, that wasn't just breaking protocol, it was deserting the very principle of his post. The sentinels were anonymous symbols, not individuals. They have no interaction with the public. To step out from behind that wall of disciplined silence was to risk everything: dismissal from the old guard, a dishonor that felt worse than any punishment. He replayed his training in his head. Perfection, discipline, honor. He thought of the sentinels before him who had stood watch through blizzards and heat waves, never faltering. Was he about to betray that legacy? Then he'd think of the letter. A lifetime of waiting for a footstep that never comes. He imagined an old woman making her way to the tomb, leaving one final message for the boy she'd lost. He was the one who found it. Was that an accident, or was it a responsibility? The conflict tore at him. Is honor found in the perfect execution of the rules, or is it found in serving the deeper purpose behind them? The tomb existed to provide a place of mourning for those who had none. By letting this letter be filed away, would he be honoring that purpose or failing it? On the third night preparing his uniform, he looked at his reflection and made his decision. He would not be a perfect soldier. He would be a good son. He would find Ilara. The risk was immense, but the moral cost of doing nothing felt infinitely greater. Finding Ilara was a near impossible task. The letter had a first name and a son named Daniel, lost in a war decades ago. He started by poring over visitor logs during his off-duty hours, but it was a needle in a haystack. Days went by. Desperation began to set in. He almost gave up. But then a thought struck him. In the letter, Ilara mentioned her husband had passed 10 years ago. It was a long shot, but maybe he was buried at Arlington. He began the painstaking task of cross-referencing cemetery burial records, an incredible long shot that would require a miracle. He searched for men who died around that time, whose service records indicated a son named Daniel reported missing in action during the Korean War. After hours, he found it. Staff Sergeant Thomas Vance, buried in a quiet section of the cemetery. His records listed a wife, Ilara, and a son, Private First Class, Daniel Vance, MIA, Korea. The file contained an old address in a quiet Virginia suburb. The next day on his 24-hour off cycle, Sam put on civilian clothes. He felt strangely exposed without his uniform. He drove to the address and found a small, tidy house with a garden of late-blooming roses. He took a deep breath and knocked. A small, frail woman with kind, tired eyes opened the door. It was her, Ilara. "Yes," she asked. "Ma'am." Sam began, his voice unsteady. "My name is Sam Callahan. I'm a soldier. I believe I found something that belongs to you." He pulled the weathered envelope from his pocket. The moment she saw it, her hand flew to her mouth. She looked from the letter to his face, her eyes filled with disbelief. He gently explained that he was a tomb guard and had found her letter. He told her how her words had moved him, how he felt he had to let her know it had been received. Tears streamed down Ilara's face, tears of shock, gratitude, and release. She invited him in and told him all about her, Daniel showing him photographs of a smiling young man who looked just like the soldiers Sam served with today. Sam just listened. He couldn't tell her if the unknown soldier was her son, but he could tell her something just as important: that her love had been heard, that her vigil was not in vain, that on behalf of every soldier who stands the watch, her son was honored and would never be forgotten. Before he left, he did one more thing. He sat at her kitchen table and wrote a short note. He didn't sign his own name. He signed it, "A Grateful Son." He had broken his oath of silence, but in doing so, he had delivered the very closure the tomb was meant to provide. What happened to Sam was never made public. Maybe his command, on hearing the story, understood the spirit of his actions. Perhaps they decided that some rules are meant to be tested by the weight of human decency. We don't know if he was punished or praised, but what we do know is this. The tomb of the unknown soldier is a sacred monument of marble and memory, but its true power isn't in the stone, it's in the stories it holds. The story of Sam and Ilara reminds us that behind every symbol of sacrifice is a human heart. Honor isn't always found in the perfection of a 21-step march. Sometimes the most honorable path requires you to stop to listen and to reach out. Perfection is powerful, but compassion is eternal. What do you think did Sam make the right choice? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this story touched your heart, please like and share it so the memory of all our soldiers known and unknown continues to be honored.